This is The Heat Source, the podcast where we learn everything we can about hot sauce, one bottle at a time. We're your hosts, Mike and Matt, and today we're trying Sweet Onion Habanero from Torchbearer Sauces. Let's heat up! Welcome back to The Heat Source, where we learn about new sauces weekly, one bottle at a time. We are continuing a theme of sauce makers, actually a theme from Queen Majesty last week, where we're having sauce makers that will be at the New York City Expo coming up this Saturday. But also, we're trying sauce makers that are Hot Ones alums. We're trying Torchbearer Sauce's Sweet Onion Habanero sauce today. Now, this is one we got from the Scovilled package. So we have really didn't do any major research before we got this sauce. I knew Torchbearer had been around for a while, and I saw them there was a hot sauce summit that they were the keynote speaker before we started attending those, and so I went back and watched that video. But very, very well established sauce that I actually knew very little about before we got into this.
Yeah, I honestly had not heard of them.
You have heard of them in that if you've watched Hot Ones, there's been a few times that you would have been like, oh yeah, I've seen that season, or I saw that guest, and then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, Torchbearer was in there.
Yeah,
So
it didn't immediately ring a bell, though.
it's one of those things like similar to just craft sauces in general, where I joined a hot sauce group on Facebook that they're like, hey, welcome. I'm like, thanks, excited. Like every group that I join, I learn like 5 or 6 new sauces right off the bat that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
Or Hot Sauce Guide, who does reviews and been doing it since 2020. He does all these reviews, and we mentioned crack sauce on a live Instagram one time that he was running. He's like, never heard of crack sauce. I'm like, how have you never heard of crack sauce? Like, we've had multiple sauces, like this well-established Lowell, Massachusetts sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just crazy to think something that's been around for as long as they have, that I don't think I've ever tried one of their sauces, but I have a laundry list of sauces that they make now that I'm like, next chance I get. I'm hoping if they're at Jungle Jim's, because I know there's a lot of hot sauces there, next time I go to Jungle Jim's, I may have the same budget that I do when I go to hot sauce shows.
Yeah, a couple
Because
hundred.
they're all right there.
Right.
There's not the same like, show deals or, things like that, but like, where else are you going to get that many sauces in a row?
Exactly.
So we're going to get into this sauce. This is torchbearersauces.com on their website. Facebook and Instagram are Torchbearer Sauces. I got that ahead of time this time. But the Sweet Onion Habanero sauce, again, it was sent to us by Scovilled when we tried out their Scovilled subscription box, the 3-sauce package. This one was interesting to me. I love onion.
So do I. I'm excited for that.
Somebody was talking about how people that don't like onion, you're eliminating a key. I think it was on one of the Mythical Kitchen podcast episodes of is a hot dog a sandwich, and they said if you eliminate onions, the base of so many things, like how many recipes start with throw a little oil down, throw some onion, some garlic, saute onion.
Yeah.
All soup bases where it's like you saute onions and you blend it with. I'm gonna make a broccoli soup here soon because the store had a 7 for $7 broccoli floret deal. So it's just onion is such a key component of cooking. And so it is interesting to have a sweet onion focus on this one. But before we do that, we have a couple of our fun games. The ones that have been recommended and suggested in the past. And then I'm not sure how long we'll do this for. I think this is a 2023 thing. 2024 will be a new year.
Okay.
So we're almost out of the woods for your game of, is this a sauce maker or an NBA player?
We're getting there. All right.
We're getting close. And this one, good old Alvin Ballmer.
Basketball.
I mean, if he's a 3-point specialist, that Ballmer becomes Bomber
Yeah.
real quick.
Alvin Bomber. That's funny.
But it would be a sauce maker.
Ah.
Sauce maker, founder of Crystals.
Ah.
So
okay.
that's the thing. If I go to craft sauce makers and have you guess, some of them you'll be like, well, I've seen a message to them, or I've seen this, or just from our Instagram, or just messages that pop up, because you'll be like, hey, it's pretty active today because your phone's just blowing up with Instagram stuff. But the big chains, other than like Tabasco,
Mm-hmm.
other than Sriracha, other than that, like some of these other big names, you don't think of them because like crystals, unless I said like Elvin Crystal.
Yeah.
So
At that point, you're just like knowing the president of a company, which isn't, unless it's like Steve Jobs, you're not usually keeping up to date on that.
it would be great if there was an NBA basketball player that's named like Sebastian Tabasco. There is an and one player named Hot Sauce, but that's
Really?
too on the nose. That's his nickname. But the other game we like to play, because we're clearly not sponsored by Subway, because when we talked about Subway in the past, you stated that there's 50 other places you'd rather go than Subway. And so we're testing that out, and we'll run it till the end of the year. Like I said, that's 52 weeks, We'll
Throw in 2 extras.
throw in 2 extras just for good measure. But what other place would you prefer to go besides Subway?
Arby's.
Arby's. Yeah, I just had Arby's recently.
They have one of the best quickly available gyros out there. It went away for a while on their menu. Their gyros are really good.
They run a weird thing where it's like, hey, we make roast beef sandwiches. We have meat sandwiches in general. By the way, we have Reubens. By the way, we have gyros.
Mm-hmm.
By the way,
The Reubens are good too.
Jamocha Shake is a classic. I always get Shamrock Shake. I like theirs better than McDonald's.
Yeah.
Their horsey sauce is one of the more underrated, iconic condiments you can get at a fast food place.
Yeah.
And Torchbearer is a different one. Torchbearer sauces has they have a horseradish sauce that I'm very interested in trying.
We need to get our hands on that.
Yeah, there's quite a few,
especially with the holiday seasons coming up.
Mm-hmm.
It is horseradish season.
Last year we did a Thanksgiving episode, and I think we've got enough sauces lined up with similar flavor profiles to do another Thanksgiving episode.
We've done some killer cranberry sauces that we need to, if we still have them, split those up between us or get our hands on some new ones.
I've been meaning to go through the inventory. I know you can't tell, but I did get a lot of the garbage out of the back corners of the podcast studio, quote unquote. And so I want to get all the sauces collected, lay them back out, update the inventory, and I want to see which ones, because we're getting into the Halloween. Stanky Sauce just came out with a pumpkin hot sauce that I just ordered, so we're going to be getting that soon. Then you've got these, horseradish sauce from Torchbearer would be great to try. But I do want to mention on Hot Ones, because again, I said, how many times do you think this maker has been on Hot Ones? Because Queen Majesty we had last week, they were on 3 times. How many times do you think Torchbearer has been on Hot Ones?
Because you're asking me, I'm assuming it's many. So I'm going to go 5.
You know what? You don't get the NBA game right, but you're dead on 5.
Yeah.
So 5, the credits are Season 6, Son of Zombie Wing Sauce, Season 8, Garlic Reaper, Season 10, Headless Horseradish, Season 14, Honey Badger, and Season 20, Mushroom Mayhem. So, which I remember seeing the Mushroom Mayhem back when it first started. I don't know if I was focused as much on the hot sauces as much as just the reactions from people.
Yeah.
Like, Da Bomb really got the focus because of people's negative, angry reaction to that.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to see some of these other sauces where I'm like, oh, Garlic Reaper, I'll do that one.
Yeah. The Honey Badger one, I think that one's ringing a bell for me in Hot Ones.
That was, Season 14. That was right in the sweet spot. I feel like that was when, it gained traction, I feel like, after like Season 3 or 4. But it was something where it was in like, not peak. I feel like it's at a peak across the board.
Yeah.
It's something where I think like, oh, Hot Ones has peaked. And then they're like, well, we got In Sync on now, which I just watched last week. And
I've kind of fallen behind. I haven't watched it. If there's someone I really like or someone I know who's going to have funny reactions, like Gordon Ramsay.
Well, you're a big fan of Weird Al Yankovic's Hot
Dude,
Ones.
I've never wanted to punch my phone so bad. I'm like, dude, take a bite. That's not a bite.
We love Weird Al,
You're
but
barely licking. I like him.
we did talk about recently, speaking of, eating hot wings, we did talk about recently trying the B-Dubs challenge. You've eaten those wings, the knockout wings, just as a meal anyway. I have not had the knockout wings yet.
Yeah.
So you seem more confident in me than I'm confident, than my confidence in myself.
When it comes to eating stuff like that, like the only thing that worries me is like, I'm not a fast eater anyways.
I am. That part doesn't worry me.
Yeah. That's what worries me is the volume and the speed. Like the heat, just tell yourself it'll be over soon and you're fine,
Yeah,
It's the volume issue for me.
My worry is that I'll get hiccups, and then hiccups while eating lends itself to. I don't think I would throw up, but I think it would simulate a similar thing where they're like, no, you're done. I'm like, it's a hiccup. It's just spicy.
Yeah. We should do that coming up here soon. Get some.
That'd be fun.
Both just try to knock the challenge out on a podcast.
Yeah, I wonder
Oh, sorry. You said you were going to try to do minimal editing.
No, I'm not going to edit that one. That one's staying in. Also, just in the Hot Ones theme, and then we'll open up this bottle and get trying it. The Uproxx website interviewed Sean Evans. This was back in 2020, July of 2020, and they were asking about like recommendations, and obviously, it's hard for any maker to be like, oh, well, this is my favorite because there's so many. But Sean Evans called out 2 Torchbearer sauces as recommendations. So
nice.
That was pretty cool. One of them I think was the horseradish. I can't remember what the other one was, but it's always a good sign when the guy that eats nothing but hot sauce for his work is like, well, this is my favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, because then you really know.
It says a lot.
Let's open this thing up. So it's pretty smooth sauce. Like, it seems, when we pour, we'll see the consistency a little bit better, but it's not a very thick sauce. The ingredient list is pretty simple: onion, habanero pepper, distilled vinegar, water, sugar, scorpion pepper, and then onion flakes and salt. So 2 levels of onion. Got a little sweetness in there. Scorpion pepper is a nice little kick. This says accidentally healthy, intentionally delicious. That's on their website as well. So let's open this guy up. So I'm going to go with my strategy that I've done the last time. I'm opening it from the bottom.
Okay.
The little pull tab here.
That worked out.
That might be the way. That might be the Mandalorian. This is the way from the bottom. All right.
What, hold on. I'm going to guess your direction you went was, I'm going to go with onions.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
So, do you remember we talked about...
I tried to go a different way.
Yeah.
I tried to go a different way, and I don't know if it just I was overthinking it. I was like going into the history of like torches and like as much as I go all these different things. And when I was going like Olympics, all these things.
It's funny. I went in the direction of torches, but I settled on something that in a million years I don't think you'd ever guess it.
That's fair. All right, let's open the bottle. Nice onion smell to it.
So do you remember a couple episodes ago? Oh, that smells really nice.
Mm-hmm.
A couple episodes ago, you had talked about, we did some horseradish facts, and you said that horseradish doesn't have a smell until you like grate it or grind it. Yeah. So I was watching. Oh, that smells really good.
So I compared it to how the strength of garlic. I don't think garlic is without smell, but like the strength of garlic grows as you break the cell walls.
Yeah.
Similar to that.
Yeah. So I guess maybe I wasn't paying attention. It happens a fair amount. I've got pretty bad
I think we
ADD.
then went into the if a bear dies in the woods, does anyone hear it or something?
Yeah, something like that. But I was watching Good Eats the other day, and Alton Brown, are you an Alton Brown fan? You seem like you would be.
I like Alton Brown.
A food science guy.
I was a little disappointed in his Hot Ones episode, but I like him overall.
Yeah.
I usually go with a lot of his recipes because it is very exact.
He explained that if you had just a cell of an onion there, it wouldn't smell like anything. But when you break that cell, it allows 2 compounds to touch, which creates fumes, which is why you get like that fume of the onion.
Yeah.
I guess he just explained it a little.
You got to light a candle.
Yeah.
I should have just
he
played the
explained
Alton
it a
Brown
little.
clip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alton Brown obviously knows a little bit more than me.
So when I heard that, I'm like, I've heard that on a podcast before, not a re-listen, but an actual live podcast. God,
could have gone. Ooh, that's
a big one.
It's
heaping.
It's not super runny because you have a good.
She's hanging over. She's muffin topping right now.
Yeah, you have a muffin top spoonful. All right, let's try it.
Ooh,
that's a good kick. So it has like a nice brownish red color to it.
Man, that's really good. I get a lot of onion, but like a manageable.
Ooh,
there it is.
Gave me a hiccup. I don't know what it is that gives me a hiccup then, because it's not over this. This isn't super spicy.
No, Roddy gets that too. I gave him a bite of that ghost pepper pizza.
That was a Reaper pizza.
Or the Reaper pizza.
Yeah, let's give him a fair shake here. It was a Reaper pizza.
He took like a little bite and instantly had the hiccups. And then tells me, I think he said he was lactose intolerant. So I'm like, well, that's a cheese pizza. So
Yeah.
good
I
for
mean,
you.
I can't speak for lactose intolerance because I don't think I have it. I feel like I react okay to cheese, but I would risk it for a good slice of cheese pizza every now and then.
A case of the toots for some cheese, yeah.
Yeah, like trade off. So really good heat up front. It really kind of kicks, but then it's. I mean, it's still there for me, but it's not strong throughout. Like the heat, does fade out. But that onion flavor that comes through really well. Not super salty. It's something where you wonder sometimes with some of these sauces when it's simple ingredients, when there's a little bit of salt like that, if that's gonna overpower it. But I don't think it's very salty.
I get like a really pleasant onion taste, like at the tail end of it.
Yeah,
after the heat, the onion really comes through.
This is one of those sauces where you try one spoonful, you get that heat kick because it's the first thing. Ooh, my burp is all onion, and I don't hate that. That's actually really nice. I'm like, ooh, did someone have French onion dip? I'm asking myself. But on the second spoonful, sometimes you can get a little more focus on the flavor than that kick of heat.
Hot dogs, potato salad. Like
Yeah, I was thinking,
all those classic picnic dishes.
I was talking about how I was going to make some broccoli soup. Any traditional soup, you add this as like a topper, almost like how some people add sriracha to a ramen.
Yeah.
Add this on top. It gives it the heat. That onion's going to go well with the soup because we talked about how onions are bases of a lot of soup. Throw this in like a chicken noodle. I had a chicken noodle recently that I did the red habanero chili or black coffee from Queen Majesty. And the broth became this like bright, vibrant red, but still like a broth consistency.
Yeah.
It was so good. I was drinking it on the bottom and I'm like, I could have give me like either like chicken broth or bone broth, throw some hot sauce and just sip on that.
Yeah.
That'd actually probably be really good because it's giving you the capsaicin that has benefits. And then it's giving you, your, essential nutrients from animal liquefied. Not a liquefied animal. Ugh.
It's
Throw
kind
chicken in a blender.
Kind of what it is. Oh, okay. That's how McDonald's gets their chicken nuggets.
They do form them. We're not going to go into McDonald's right now. But let me go into a little bit about the sauce maker here, and then we'll get back into the flavor of this one. Second bite was really good. The heat wasn't as much of a kick to the face that second time. Maybe it's just something about starting your morning off with a habanero scorpion pepper
Definitely. It's
sauce.
The first bite. It's funny, the first bite when we do these episodes are like, whoa, that's hot. I eat them at home, and I'm like, oh, that's really pleasant. That's like sour cream.
When you eat it at home, when you mix it with a dish, what you're pairing it with, those are all going to factor into the heat level and how that flavor comes through. But so Torchbearer has been around for over 18 years.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I mean, it makes sense that they were on, Hot Ones in the early times.
Yeah.
But
man, that's a long time.
So Torchbearer was founded by Vid Lynch and two of his friends, Ben Smith and Tim Wortman. They met while students at Harrisburg Area Community College, that's in Pennsylvania. For several years, they had a group of close friends, anywhere ranging from 20 to 30 people. They would prepare these dinners. They prepare foods, and part of that was, they would, play with heat in those dishes and things like that. They also would see in that heat, they would see who could make the hottest dish. There was a challenge to it.
Sure.
So as the years went on and you kind of get away from college, that group, the friend group kind of dwindles down, where then the dinners weren't being hosted as much, or it wasn't as large of a group. So they now, Vid and Ben, they had these habanero gardens with large quantities of habaneros. They're not doing these dinners as often or as much. I think he said they were growing about 200 pounds in a year between the two of them.
Holy cow.
Of habaneros. So the first thing they want to do is make a preserve. So make a preserve for the peppers that eventually became one of their first sauces, the sultry sauce. But that kind of is what kicked off the making, is that they were doing these dinners, doing these spicy, dinner dishes. That was kind of fading. They were already growing peppers, looking for that next outlet. making the preserves ended up, just out of a what do we do with all these peppers?
Yeah.
Which I've never thought to make preserves. Like most people that I know that grow peppers, a lot of them do salsas, but you can only put so much Carolina Reaper in a salsa before.
Yeah, like one per batch.
It's like a murder salsa.
Yeah.
But, with habaneros, there's more versatility, I guess, with that.
I would like to know, sorry to cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to know if you have 200 pounds of Reapers, what is that getting you as far as a hot sauce yield? Like, is that getting you 400 bottles?
If someone went Reapers, because theirs was habaneros.
Oh, sorry, habaneros. If
I guess it depends on how much heat, and also the other ingredients, like how much, other liquids and stuff you're adding to that. If it's a thicker sauce, thinner sauce.
Sure.
But it would be curious to see what's the range of, like, if, with this habanero sauce specifically, like how many habaneros, 200 pounds would equivalent to, like, how many bottles of this.
Yeah.
I guess it also depends a little bit on what level you're at. I mean, Torchbearer, back then when they started, it could be a whole year's worth. Now,
probably
who's
a week.
to say? Yeah. But yeah, so the name itself, Torchbearer, came from Vid had a photography and video production company called Torchbearer.
Mm-hmm.
So they already had a name set up. Just transferred over to the hot sauce company. So I was curious about that, where I'm like, Torchbearer. I'm like, okay, like torch, obviously, like there's a heat element involved, but it was already an established thing that he had, which, the photography and video production, that definitely doesn't hurt when you're starting a sauce company and need to make content or, promote it and market it and things like that.
Yeah.
So they have the artwork. You can see the artwork on here is pretty significant. If you look at any of their bottles of sauce, they have such unique drawn bottles.
Yeah.
They're all kind of crazy.
That habanero kind of reminds me of the California raisin guys.
He is a little bit California raisin, and I'm not mad at it. I love the California raisins. I used to actually have, I was going to say action figures, but that's a little
No, I
aggressive.
had them too, the little guys.
The little hard plastic.
Yeah, I had those.
They didn't move. I feel like action figures got to have joints.
Yeah. No, these guys were just fixed. They were made for a shelf, on my grandma's shelf, but I got them anyways. What did I call them? I tried to bring those up to you one time. What did I call them? Like the San Francisco plums or something?
I don't know.
Like
It was whatever the Wish version of the California raisins were.
It was something crazy. I'm like, yeah, those little purple guys are like the California raisins. I'm like, yeah, those.
The North Ontario nectarines. I don't know.
It was something like that. Yeah.
I mean,
That's
if you could at least have gone grapes, you would have been close. It's like, well, eventually there'll be raisins.
I thought they were prunes.
I think they were prunes or plums. It was definitely a pea.
Yeah, that's so funny. But yeah, no, that when I saw that, it kind of reminded me of that guy.
But no, it definitely it stands out. I mean, some places I've read just about marketing different things said, like, oh, don't have too much detail from, we want to catch that from a distance away. But I'm like, once you have this bottle in your hand, you're like, well, this is fun.
Yeah.
Like, this is a fun design. And they have the same thing with, their zombie one is one I actually can visualize because I saw it on Hot Ones before, and I still can kind of see that one. So
yeah,
I do like some of the sauce makers. I know that they have. I know that they were using. I don't know if they still do, but they were using a Hawk Interactive in Harrisburg to create their bottles, which they said, helps them stand out because of the uniqueness of them. I don't know if that's some of the original, but I do know that some makers they just they draw their own designs.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of fun. I would. If I was making something like that, I would definitely want to have a go at making a design because I do like graphic design and drawing in general.
Right.
I know you definitely want to draw one.
I'm the worst drawer ever. But
I wasn't going that low of a.
I love the idea of it. Like I can't do it. I have a hard time with stick people. Absolutely admire the heck out of people who can draw and do graphic design because I don't know how you do that.
I'm amazed.
I physically can't do that.
Like the people like caricature artists and things like that, where they're just like on the fly and just saying, okay, I'm going to do this. I can't mess up because this is what it's going to be, and just goes
and just make it you can pick caricature people out of a room. Like if you just lined up all right, who is this? You'd be like, oh, it's that guy right there. That level of skill to me is incredible.
I would like to, when I was a kid, me and my sister got a caricature drawing of us, and it was really good. At the time, I had a gap in between my teeth.
Yeah.
So I'm like, obviously you go for
They
that.
emphasize that.
But otherwise, they didn't really hit too hard. Some of them I see, like some of the reels that I see on Instagram, they're ruthless.
There's a couple in Hawaii that does them.
Yeah. It's like
they're known for just absolutely tearing people apart.
It's the equivalent of, is it Dick's Last Resort? The restaurant that just treats you like garbage?
Yeah, they put the bag on your head.
They put the bag on your head. They throw stuff at you. They're like, oh, you want napkins? They just throw a bunch of napkins, or they give you one, and they're like, there you go.
That's so fun.
It's that reel is the equivalent of that.
Yeah.
But I'd love to have my kids do one. I don't want to do it because I'm like, well, they're definitely going to point out that I'm bald. That's fine. And then, until I lost, 30-ish, 40-ish pounds over the last year, it's like, they definitely would have gone after that too. Where I'm like, I'm going to have 17 chins and then a bald head with other chins.
I actually have one when I was a kid, but now as an adult, I've got a good old Polish sniffer right now. They definitely go for that on mine. And then probably my eyebrows. I just have like very, very dark, thick eyebrows.
You have both hair and beard, so you've covered a good portion of like stuff to make fun of.
I think that's why I do it. I think it's just like an easy way to hide in public.
Somebody said online, they're like, if you're and then I'm not saying this about you, but they're like, there's somebody said online, like, if you're an unattractive guy, wear a hat, grow a beard. They're like, you've now eliminated 2/3 of what's unattractive about you.
That's hilarious because that's me 99% of the time.
I rarely see you wear a hat.
I wear it like outside of work.
That's true.
When I told you I'm a shitload of fun, outside of work, I have a hat on all the time.
Language.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I don't know what the rules are and what's considered like expletive or anything anymore because now people can say that way more often.
They can. Just throw a beep in there. That's okay.
But no, I just like eliminating the 2/3. They're like, that's all you need to do. And I'm like, well, I can wear a hat. People say it's weird to see me wear a hat because I never do anymore. And then I physically can't grow a beard. I can grow a goatee. Yeah. It's like coming in pretty nice right now just because I'm lazy. I can grow a great mustache.
Yeah.
Angela disagrees, but I can grow a great mustache.
It must have been the water that you and Mark grew up with, where it's just like the Fu Manchu.
My buddy Mark, him and I both like just hair does not want to grow on our cheeks. It's like that's the thing where I'm like, oh, I could grow a beard, but it would be like down the line, like side of the lips, and then down to like the Adam's apple. Yeah, and it's like that's it, like a Jake Plummer beard. But let's get back into the history of the maker here. I only got a little bit more on here because I mean they've been around forever. It's kind of crazy. Some of the sauce makers that have been around for so long, it's sometimes harder to get as much information because like they became more established before as much social media craze was going on, and so now they don't have to rely on the social media or the podcast been established in a certain way
before that.
Yeah,
and they just don't need to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in 2018, the company actually expanded. They moved into a larger premises a few miles down the road in Lemoyne, Pennsylvania. Lemoyne, yeah. The new facility was a 10,000 square foot warehouse that allowed them to produce, bottle, and label all of its stuff in its own space.
10,000's huge.
Yeah, 10,000's enormous. In the past, they had to rent commercial kitchens to produce their sauces. So that was one of their big upgrades was in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
They also, with grant money, they also were enabled them to lease more than 2 acres of land near Halifax, where they grow habanero and ghost chilies. The peppers are picked and processed into mashes used for their recipes.
That's awesome. That's really neat.
I know that Sam had talked about how his process from Sam Sauce, where his process, the easy ones like jalapenos, like he can go to like a market and get a bunch of those, but like the specialty ones he grows himself. Mm-hmm. And he's, when you watch his Instagram page, his gardens are really impressive to see kind of the layout of them and how well he maintains them. And Chilipino is another one that her gardens, like, it's just art at that point.
Yeah.
But it is something where when you get, when you get big enough, you don't have to worry as much about outsourcing if you can afford to like either, work with a farm directly or just, set up your own where you have complete control.
Yeah.
We talked about the Tennessee, Hoff and Pepper, where they set up an agreement with a Tennessee local farmer where they had complete control down to the seeds. Not everyone has that ability to find that farmer in their area. So, getting that 2 acres of land and having that control in-house is really, that's another level of, we got our own kitchen so we don't have to rent, but then like we got our own pepper field.
Yeah, right.
I went to the farmer's market here in Fulton Street Market. It's been around for 100 years, and Fat Baby Hot Sauce was there, and they had a picture of their pepper farm up in Clare, Michigan. I believe it's in Clare, and I was just like, I want to go to there.
Yeah,
like
Clare's a good ways from Grand Rapids. Do they come down here just for those markets?
They have a couple different West Michigan events they do on the weekends.
Yeah.
They also were the ones that did the Wing Prov comedy show on Monday, which I didn't get to go to, but it is exactly what I thought it was. You eat spicy wings and you try to improv through it. So it's like Hot Ones improv.
Yeah.
Great idea.
That is.
I hope they do another one because I will attend. It was kind of a last minute scheduling, didn't quite work.
My biggest takeaway from that was we have a comedy club here?
Yeah.
Had no idea.
And it was like, oh, I know where that is.
Huh.
I know where that Taco Bell is. I knew where that one Taco Bell of the 70 that are in West Michigan. But it is also something where it made me realize, like, okay, what else can we fuse with Hot Ones? Like a Hot Ones version of improv, a Hot Ones version of, I've seen Chili Klaus, where he has everyone eat a pepper and then they try to play orchestra. It's like, what else can people try to suffer through and do?
It'd be kind of fun to sit through church. Be like, hey, Father, choke a couple of these down before you get started.
Really fighting the demon. The other thing they pointed out when they talked about their growth with this when they talked about the improvement of the facility. So when they talked about that facility growing, they mentioned, just as a context, 30-gallon kettles to a 300-gallon kettle.
Wow. So
that's kind of just gives you an idea of the level of improvement that has happened.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So again, it's been around. They've been around for 18 years. It's not as skyrocketed as we've seen some that have really taken off in the last year or two, because we weren't kind of tracking it. But then it is a name that has been around so long, and obviously Hot Ones has caught its eye. They obviously appreciate the quality of their sauce, and I've had a couple spoonfuls of this so far, so it's really really enjoyable.
I wonder who, and I know it's kind of weird when they get into some of these brands, but I wonder who is the most repeat customer on Hot Ones.
Torchbearer has to be up there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, if that's not the most, then what is? Because 5 times is a lot.
Yeah, 5 times.
Like the
other
commitment, what do they commit you to? 40,000 bottles.
That was something that was mentioned from a previous maker where it was somewhere around 40,000.
Yeah.
But I think it just grows every year. Like, it's only growing.
Yeah.
Because I think at the time when they first did it, it was like, hey, give us a couple cases and we're going to sell them.
Yeah.
So, it started small.
Right.
Other than the Hot Ones, the Hot Ones Heatonist branded sauces and the Last Dab, I'd be curious to see what else makes it through there. So, all right, let's get into the facts here. Do you want to go first or second with your torch adjacent fact?
I'll go first. So I went with solar eclipses, obviously, and welding masks.
Okay.
So what I got into, like you said, I went the torch route. I was like, Olympic torches, history of torches.
And there is some stuff in there where I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. No, I definitely found some good stuff, but I did my research years. I want to say the last 5 years, we've had a couple really good solar eclipses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it seems like every year they're like, this is the last time this will ever happen. And then they're like, next year, solar eclipse happens. Like, this is the last time this will ever happen.
Right.
In your lifetime, and there's little variations. I think that'll allow them to say that. But what I find interesting is the vast majority of welding masks, and to tie it together, welding torch, look at that. Like, we've all seen it in the movies. You look at it on TV and you're like, my gosh, that's bright.
Yeah.
Like, it almost hurts your eyes looking at it on TV. To see it in person, have you ever seen a welding torch in person?
So I have been in the same space as someone welding where they tell me in certain parts where they're like, you can't look. You have to look away for these certain things.
Yeah.
And I never, because in movies, it's like, well, I looked at the screen the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like, understanding just how bright.
Right. That's not going to damage your eyes. But looking at it in person is like another world of, you look away and then you're just seeing purple. You can't see anything after that. I accidentally caught a glimpse of one once, and I'll never do that again. So you wear a welding mask, and essentially it's just like insanely heavy-duty sunglasses.
Yeah.
And they're rated on a scale of 1 to 14 as far as the shade, 1 being the least shaded, 14 being the heaviest shade. I want to say 95% of your welding masks fall 13 and below.
Okay.
Which, I mean, when you have a 13 on, you can't see anything. You couldn't walk through a room. You trip over everything. Essentially, what that is a high amperage torch where you can see that glow, like just barely through the mask. What I found interesting is during those solar eclipses, people were putting on welding masks to see the solar eclipse. You know, like everyone ran out of those paper solar eclipse
the little
glasses.
like periscope style.
Yeah. So a welding mask of 13 and below, which is like 99% of your welding masks, is not strong enough to safely look at a solar eclipse. You need a rating of 14, which those little paper glasses that don't seem like much that everyone was buying to watch those are of a rating of 14 or higher. But I just thought that was crazy where even a high-end welding mask is not safe for you to look at a solar eclipse.
Huh.
Yeah.
I would not have. I mean, the fact that they were rated a certain way, I would have totally used one and.
Oh yeah,
gone blind.
I think I remember talking to my brother like, "Hey, you got a couple welding masks, right? Just bring that thing over and let's go stare at the sun." And then they put out, I think it was even like Philips, like the company that makes the safety equipment.
Yeah,
they were like, "That is an awful idea. Unless you have a rating of 14, do not use a welding mask because that is not nearly safe enough to go stare at the sun."
I mean, were you saying a welding mask can't handle the power of the sun? That little itty bitty sun? Come on.
Well, I'm. Raw dog a solar eclipse. You can stare at it all day. It doesn't hurt your eyes, but it's super bad for you.
Raw dog a solar eclipse is such a phrase.
Sorry, raw dog your eyes, you know.
Better. That's better.
But, I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
you can quick glance up at it and be like, oh, yeah, there's a solar eclipse. That's insanely bad for your eyes. That's probably why I have 2 holes in my retina right now.
How many times have you stared at a solar eclipse? Has it been twice?
Just once. Oh. But no, I just thought that was funny where not even a welding mask can save you unless it's a 14, which apparently are super rare and hard to get your hands on to get that heavy of a shade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I mean it's something where it's the only eclipse welder mask you can get. You gotta strategically sell them right. That's a good one. I would never have gone in that direction at all. So the Torchbearer, I was stuck on Olympics, and I'm like, get into like major history lesson here, and I'm like, eh. So I like that.
Yeah.
Well done. I went into not as off the beaten path, which is boring.
I love onions. We love onions.
But did you know that onions have been a part of the human diet for more than 7,000 years?
I did not know that.
So archaeologists have discovered traces of onions dating back to 5,000 BC, found alongside stones from figs and dates in settlements from the Bronze Age.
What did it say? What area that was in?
It did not say what area. But also, ancient Egyptians worshipped onions, believing their spherical shape and concentric circles within symbolized eternity. In fact, onions were often placed in burial tombs of pharaohs, as they're believed to bring about prosperity in the afterlife.
See, I can see that stuff happening back in the day. Of like,
I'm just excited.
It's pretty unique.
You open up a pharaoh tomb, you're getting some onions, you're getting some honey. You got yourself a meal started.
That was the next thing I was going to say. It was like, I feel like they worshipped everything.
Yeah.
Like there was some sort of symbolism behind everything. It's like, well, this honey never goes bad. Let's worship it. These onions, you cut open any other fruit in the world, and it's like flesh and seed or something like that.
That one's like cutting open a tree.
Yeah, you cut it open, and you're just like, what on earth is this? And that's why I think like pomegranates were heavily revered as like, God's fruit or something like that.
Okay, because of how unique.
Yeah, it's just, you open it up, and it's just full of rubies,
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so you cut open an onion, you're like, wow, like that's way different. That must be special.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things where sometimes it's like, oh wow, like they did that. That's odd. That's this. And then there's other times where, different people have different beliefs, whether it be about diet or whatever, where they're like, well, this is what people have been doing for thousands of years. I'm like, do we want to go with what people thousands of years ago thought of like onions and cats and like,
Right. I was gonna go because onions play a big role in the movie Holes, and
Still
I
haven't
know
seen
that
it.
you're just not a very cultured person and you've
I'm
never
just
seen it.
really can't watch anything with Sigourney Weaver. What a terrible actress. I'm kidding.
That is by far my favorite role she's ever played.
She was
in
pretty
that
great
movie.
in Finding Dory.
She was, but
Just the overhead announcer for a water park. Every time I watch that, I'm just walking by as my kids watch it. I'm like, is that Sigourney Weaver?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Actually, no, I know what my favorite Sigourney Weaver movie is.
Alien.
Ghostbusters.
Was she in there? Hold up. The original one?
Yeah.
I have not. Disclaimer. I've seen the movie. I've not watched it in a very long time.
She was in both of them, I believe.
It's been a very long time.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll have to watch it
Oh, well.
again.
It's fine. But Holes is great.
You need to watch that movie. So onions have a lot to do with that movie, and I was going to go the Holes route.
Yeah.
But I'd be like, well, you're going to know more about the sun than you are Holes, so I should probably go with the sun route.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. It is definitely a hole in my Shia LaBeouf filmography. I've probably seen quite a bit of Shia LaBeouf movies, but anyway, so that's our facts. Historical onions and
On topic.
welder safety for eclipses.
Yeah. If you listen to this podcast and you're not the most interesting guy at your next social gathering or gal,
Yep.
there's something wrong with you. We're giving you all the content in the world that you need to make
That's
a
a
lot
good
of
way
friends.
to make friends with people on here. It's their fault if they're not popular, not ours.
We've thrown out a
We're
phenomenal
giving you
business
everything
ideas.
we can.
We've given you all the facts that we can. If you're not sparking some good discussion at these next tea parties you're going to, then that's your fault.
I think part of the problem is you're going to tea parties in 2023. I mean, unless it's by invitation of like your child, that's a little bit odd. Ooh, so random fact off of the Torchbearer, because I was going through their Instagram and it goes back a ways. But again, they weren't using as much, throughout the whole 18 years. But in January of 2013, they had a state of the company meeting in someone's apartment. It was kind of cool seeing like this giant company just having this meeting. They posted on Instagram saying company meeting.
Yeah.
And in that photo, they said, and shortly after we had a Nerf disc battle.
That's awesome.
So I'm like, okay, these are my people. They like hot sauce and Nerf guns.
Right.
So
Yeah,
we're
do
down.
they have a couple job openings?
I know. I'm like, do you still?
We'll be your exclusive podcaster.
Yeah, we'll be your exclusive podcaster. Do you have Nerf company meetings still? Can we attend? I can supply some of the Nerf weapons if anyone's missing any. No, it was just really funny to see that where I'm like, and again, I feel like there's some sauce makers now that you see, not small batch, but just in general, where you see some brands that show up and then everything on their Instagram has to be like really, cool and stylized and all this stuff where I'm like, I know nothing about them other than they sell hot sauce and they take photos of the hot sauce by a pool or on the beach or wherever. And it really is missing an opportunity because like seeing the personality of Torchbearer with like, here's our company meeting, here's the Nerf disc things. And really, even with the artwork they have on their bottles, it's much more formal and which is a lot nicer. I did pull up their website of their sauces. And with this sauce specifically, they say it's perfect for wings, which I agree with, French onion soup, and coconut shrimp.
Ooh,
Coconut shrimp would be very good.
that would be good.
But I do like it as a topper for a lot of those like soup, sandwich.
Just a good old burger.
I liked your idea where it's like putting it on the salads, like a pasta salad or a potato salad or something like that.
Yeah.
Getting it that onion flavor. I have some family that they have an aversion to either white or red onion cut up into a salad, especially like raw onion. This is a way to kind of, assuming that they're okay with the heat, get that onion flavor. So let's get into the score on this one. Again, scores out of 100, 75 and above is something that we would want in our kitchen on rotation. 50 to 75 is something we still recommend to buy. 25 to 50 is not necessarily something you have to proactively seek out, but still quality. And then 25 and below is not for us, maybe for you. For heat on this, out of 0 to 5, I had it as like a low 3. It's like high 2, low 3. I'm not quite reacting.
I had a 2+, yeah.
Yeah. So it's right on that edge of, it's a strong heat, it lingers, but it's not really making making me sweat, but my throat's definitely reacting. So that's something. But for the score, I had it as an 81.
I had 86.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're flipped on that one. Sometimes I feel like I lean more higher on the scale sometimes.
Yeah.
That one, I mean, the heat is really strong for habanero sauce, but I really like that. It's not going to have you reacting where you're not enjoying it. And that's just trying it by the spoonful. But putting it in like a soup, on a burger, I could see this as like a mix into like your mayo, making like a Big Mac sauce with this in there.
This is a tortilla chip sauce, by the way.
This is a tortilla chip sauce? Okay.
Yeah.
This is an official tortilla chip sauce.
We need a stamp, a seal of approval.
I made one at one point. It wasn't as impressive. If somebody that has some artistic ability wants to make a tortilla chip stamp, we'll print them out on stickers, and then when we go to shows, we'll just be like, there you go.
That's
congratulations. Funny. And then someone will be like, can you stop putting stickers on my product? And then we'll get called away, and the whole thing.
Just don't break eye contact and say you're welcome.
Yeah.
Doing you a favor.
Then we'll be
known
famously for getting kicked out of a hot sauce show.
We don't hand these out to everyone.
So, but no, I mean, this is a great sauce. I mean, there's a lot of flavors of sauces I've seen that they have out there that I'm very interested to trying. I think we're going to have a few more, I'm sure. I don't know if by the end of the year, but we'll definitely, maybe we'll talk with Scovilled and see if we can do a Torchbearer episode, and maybe it's one that they can come on for or something, do some fun collaboration. But a couple special thank you to Scovilled. They helped us run the giveaway a couple weeks ago. They sponsored a few episodes. Because of that sponsorship and because of, the giveaway and having us try their subscription box, we were able to, find this sauce and enjoy this sauce from Torchbearer. And again, torchbearersauces.com, Torchbearer Sauces on Facebook and Instagram. It's just all one word. And also a special thank you to Summit 6 Design. For any graphic or logo design needs, reach out to them on Instagram. We used it for our logo. Scovilled used it for their logo. So just a real good experience working with them to design a logo. And then thank you for all of you for listening. However you listen, we do appreciate you. Follow us on Instagram at the Heat Source Podcast for all updates. Send us a message on there, or email us at theheatsourcepod@gmail.com for any feedback, requests, or other comments. And then next week, I've got a couple ideas of what's going to happen next week. The next episode will come out post New York City Expo, so I don't know if we'll do a New York City sauce again. We've tried a lot of the sauces that have been vendors at that show, so we'll have to see what comes from the next week, and then it'll be a surprise for all of us. So until then, we'll see you later.
See ya.